Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight, as always, I promise I want to deliver to you the promises that we make, and we bring to you today the turning point in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. And this is not just a claim. This is hard evidence. This is evidence that clearly nobody can question tonight on why we are spinning theories, why we are just creating such a huge media tamasha over Sushant Singh Rajput's death. For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, on television, we will bring you tonight the biggest clincher in the Sushant investigation saga. And it's not a clincher that is every day called a clincher on other channels. There have been many cynics and particular lobby that has been questioning our reportage, calling this a media trial, attacking us for pursuing the truth in the Sushant Singh death mystery. So for all the apologists in this lobby, all those who have been questioning us, all those who have been outraging activists rather than journalists, let me promise you that tonight's investigation will stun you. And really stun you and turn the investigation on its head beyond belief. What was said in hushed tones today will be here in front of you in black and white. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's never been louder, and this angle will become India's biggest talking point because that is the quality of evidence that we've been able to get. Ladies and gentlemen, we have accessed the WhatsApp chats that will blow the lid off this case. That will tell you exactly what was going on in Sushant Singh Rajput's house, who were the key players, what were they plotting, what were they planning. And these, ladies and gentlemen, WhatsApp chats, 8 chat excerpts for the first time will tell you Sushant could have been fed drugs. Fed drugs by whom? Well, by Rhea Chakraborty and her associates, her co-conspirators, all planted along the way in the inner circle of Sushant Singh Rajput, and of course people working from outside, all of them working in tandem. And I want to show you these chats. Let's take a look at the chats coming up on your screen. Chat number 1, and this is a chat that was deleted by Rhea Chakraborty from her phone. It's a retrieved chat, which is why it looks the way it does, and that's why we're calling it a black and white evidence. WhatsApp.net Rhea, in case we speak about hard drugs, I haven't been doing too much according to, she says MDMA is something she's tried once. This is a chat that has gone out in 2017. The date is here, March of 2017, 8th of March. And this is what it says. It says, and it is meant for Gaurav, the alleged drug supplier, dealer. We don't know who he is. In case we speak about hard drugs, I haven't done too many. According to him, MDA once. This is what is written in this WhatsApp chat, and this has been sent from her phone through a mobile, and the number which we have masked is a 96 number right here. We masked the number for you, but WhatsApp from Rhea's phone goes to a certain Gaurav Arya. And this Gaurav Arya is the alleged drug supplier, dealer. We don't know what kind of a guy he is. We don't know, but this is the chat. This is chat number 1. Now let's look at chat number 2. And in this, she asks, you have MD? I presume this is MD means MDMA, and this is also from Rhea's phone, sent mobile, again on the 8th of March 2017, again to Gaurav, and this is what she says. You have MD, so she wants a stronger drug, and this is in 2017. The point being made here is, since 2017, Rhea is in the habit of probably using, consuming, giving it to other people, we don't know, but definitely finding out about MDMA and saying, I haven't taken this kind of a hard drug, but sometime around 2017 she's finding out about MD and asking for MD. Now circa 2019, chat number 3 is from 2019, and here she says, date 25th of November 2019, Rhea Chakraborty sends it to Jaya Saha. Now Jaya Saha is an agent working at Quan. Quan is where Jaya Saha works, and you know what she asks her? Jaya Saha writes to Rhea Chakraborty and she says, I have asked him to coordinate with Shruti and reach it up, and also says thank you so much. No problem, bro, I hope it helps. I hope it helps is what she says. This is where she, thank you so much is being said by Rhea, but Jaya clearly says in that chat that I'm going to send this, coordinate it through Shruti Modi, and Shruti Modi will reach it up to the house. I presume in 2019 it was the house of Sushant Singh Rajput. Now let's look at chat number 5. And chat number 5 is to Miranda Sushi. This must be the name, and I presume, and it's a very, very educated guess. Miranda Sushi. Miranda Sushi. Hi Rhea, the stuff is almost over. So Miranda working at Sushant Singh Rajput's house. Sushi's, I think, reference to Sushant. Hi Rhea, the stuff is almost over. So he's informing her. So Miranda knows who this stuff was for and how it was being used. Was it being used by Rhea? Was he telling her that Rhea, रात को अगर आप घर आओगे तो ये stuff है नहीं, let's arrange it, I presume. And this is around April of 2020 that this chat goes on between Miranda and Rhea, again from the mobile phone, and it says platform mobile. The number is here, and well, we will mask this number right here, and this is the second. Again, Miranda Sushi asks Rhea, should we take it from Showik's friend, but he has just hash and bud. Now I don't know the lingo of drugs. Hash one is heard of, but what is bud I don't know, but it's supposed to be the lower level of drugs, as Google search shows. Hash and bud are the lower level of drugs, and he says, should we take it from Showik's friend? So there is, apart from Gaurav, another supplier, but he does the normal lower quality, and that's what is said. This is in April of 2020 when Rhea and Samuel Miranda are talking to each other. Now the family says Rhea shifted into Sushant's flat somewhere around May of 2020. So Samuel Miranda and Rhea were in touch even before that. They were talking about drugs, where to get it from, where to source it from. And May, when Rhea comes into Sushant's house, Samuel Miranda follows her. He's given a job in Sushant's house. The earlier people are sacked. That's also something the family said, proved right here. Let's take a look at chat number 8. And chat number 8, Nizam Bhai, if we can just take the chat number 8. No, there is another chat, the clincher. The clincher there in that chat is very much there, where Jaya Saha actually tells how to administer the drug. It's the clinching evidence, Nizam Bhai, if we can just get the chat number 8 up here, the clinching chat. And this is the incriminating WhatsApp chat that will tell you the role of Rhea Chakraborty. We're building up to it. And Rahul, so far, what you've heard about these chats, what does it make you feel? We're going to go across to the clincher, but just tell us, what do you think about the 7 chats that we put up?
Suspense won't hurt at this point, but yes, Navika, this is a very, very, very serious turn of events, and one has to say that this kind of conversation in black and white now puts paid to the rumors that have swirled around this case. Now, Times Now always reports hard facts. These are hard facts. You know that Rhea Chakraborty is in contact with individuals who she gets the drugs from. Now, whether these individuals are high-profile dealers, whether they are just the first in the chain, or they're somewhere in the, conduits in a longer chain, and where this chain extends up till, from past investigations that have been carried out, Navika, that big names relating to Bollywood have turned up in these investigations. These investigations then were suppressed. We can say this with authority. It has happened in the past. Individuals in the Mumbai police who are still there have been part of those investigations. So, you have seen in the past a wariness on the part of investigators, of the political establishment, and obviously the real high and mighty, the connected in Mumbai to in any way be exposed or expose any of these webs. And today what is coming out points very clearly to the fact that the inner circle of Sushant Singh Rajput had been co-opted by Rhea Chakraborty, most certainly to administer certain drugs, and that we are going to just show you in 30 seconds or so. But Navika, coming back to the point, it raises the question, is this why the authorities in Mumbai did not escalate this entire probe into an investigation, and whether, Navika, most importantly, whether there was an attempt at trying to not look at some of the deeper issues because there was some pressure to keep certain names out of the conversation. That is now beyond belief confirmed, because at no level can one explain the very, very lackadaisical and superficial probe that was conducted for the Mumbai police. Remember, no FIR being filed even till now. 70 days, 71 days after Sushant Singh Rajput's death, no FIR till now. What explains it? I think we're now beginning to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
We have this chat here by Jaya Saha sent to Rhea, and she says, before this, and I'm building up the suspense because I know it's going to be worth your wait. No problem, bro. I hope it helps, is what she says. And read the date on this. This is on the 25th of November 2020. Right here, the date is here. And we're going to show you that she is the one who says Shruti will bring it up. Jaya Saha is also Rhea's. And this is the chat on the same day where she says, use 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and let him sip it. Let him sip it. Give it 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in. This is the smoking gun. This is the evidence, and this is where Jaya Saha is telling Rhea Chakraborty, use 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and let him sip it. Him, we presume on 25th of November is when Rhea was living with Sushant Singh Rajput, and let him sip it. Give it 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in. This was by Jaya Saha sent to Rhea Chakraborty in November, 25th of November 2019, and this is how drugs were being administered. We understand this. Let him sip it. Give it 30 to 40 minutes. Rahul, what do you make of this smoking gun, this hard evidence, black and white evidence? 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and let him sip it and allow 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in.
Well, Navika, even I didn't, I have to admit, expect such an implicit message that was sent from Jaya Saha to Rhea Chakraborty. And what it tells you perhaps is maybe that's the reason why this autopsy was delayed. Because remember, if an individual needs such kind of or is given such kind of drugs for a sustained period of time, there's going to be dependency. And it is inconceivable to think that suddenly Sushant Singh Rajput was not requiring this kind of dose, and those around him suddenly turned benign and said, nahi, bechare ko nahi dete ab, since Rhea is no with us. Now, is the fact, now I have to, pure conjecture, is the fact that the autopsy that was delayed, not showing up chemicals because time was allowed to pass so that the toxin or the chemical was allowed to degrade to a point where it's not detectable. All of this...
And Rahul, if any were to defend this as saying that Rhea was only supplying to Sushant what he wanted to consume. The question here that I want to ask you once again, and I want to get in Vivek on this as well, if Sushant was consuming himself, then he would have asked for this. He would have texted somebody. It's after all only a text message that you have to send. And he would know how to use it. Why would Jaya explain to Rhea on how it should be administered and given to him? Let him sip it, allow 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in.
There's no doubt.
Is there any doubt?
There's no doubt that if this was medication, now look, Navika, all of us have had illnesses in the past. You have your medicines with you, you take them, none of us are so kingly as to constantly depend on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals to give us our medication. Now, you can be reminded from time to time that you need to take your dose, etc. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for the medication that you take. I feel here that these WhatsApps recovered, deleted. Now, remember, if there was nothing to these WhatsApps, why were they deleted?
Why were they deleted? Absolutely the biggest question ever. Why were they deleted in the first place? And why did agencies have to recover these deleted messages? Vivek, any doubts in your mind anymore?
Absolutely. Yes, many doubts. It's all becoming clear now. The worst fears of the family, things that the father told you, Navika, things that the brother-in-law told you, what Mr. O.P. Singh had written to the Bandra police, it's all falling into places now. There was a circle of people around Sushant Singh Rajput who were conniving, who wanted these things to happen, who were in detail telling and taking precautions and deleting it. They didn't know that it could be retrieved perhaps as it has been taken out now. These are people who pushed him to the limit. Remember this picture, the first one, the drop-by-drop window that we are showing on the right is from December 2019. In about 40 days, he calls up Siddharth Pitani and tells him, bro, I'm in a very bad shape. And when Pitani comes, what does he tell you, Navika? Pitani tells you about how he was shivering. He could not handle himself. He was completely over the edge. This was all planned to the T, Navika. That's what comes to me.
Very important, very important. And this is the chat, this is the WhatsApp, and this is the timing. 25th of November 2019, time is 11:31 a.m. when Jaya Saha sends this message to Rhea Chakraborty: use 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and let him sip it. Give it 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a figment of my imagination. This is a WhatsApp chat, and this has been retrieved from deleted chats. And this is the eye-opener, and this is the evidence, if there ever was any evidence, of what was Rhea Chakraborty's role. Well, I don't know. Maybe she has an explanation, but at the moment, if there was an explanation, after questioning Rhea Chakraborty on this angle, the Enforcement Directorate would not have handed it over to the Narcotics Control Bureau and the CBI if the explanation of Rhea Chakraborty had been satisfactory. Which means this is an angle which is being looked at. This is the 3 or 4 drops that go into coffee, tea or water for him to sip it and then wait for it to kick in 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going across to Shehzad Poonawalla, we brought you the black and white facts. These are the evidences. This is not a media trial. This is hard evidence I hold in my hand, and these are deleted WhatsApp chats. What do you make of this big disclosure and the big drug chat?
Navika, there is only one conclusion from this, that you have actually unearthed the most important piece of evidence and information in this entire case, and I say that without any reservations. This, coupled with the fact that there was no time of death in the post-mortem report, this coupled with the fact that the forensics head has acknowledged that 10 to 12 hours the autopsy was delayed so that the toxins in the stomach could not be diagnosed. And now I want to ask 2 or 3 basic questions on this most important piece of evidence which has been handed over by the ED to the CBI. Question number 1, was Sushant aware that he was being administered these drugs? Question number 2, were these drugs being given to him so as to compromise his mental abilities and faculties so that money could be withdrawn? Question number 3, was this the entire aspect which the family was hinting in February when they raised an SOS to the Mumbai police? Question number 4, why was the Mumbai police constantly trying to hide the mafia Bollywood Aghadi in their investigation or so-called investigation, and was this the reason why they were reluctant to give it to the CBI? Question number 5, is the death that has taken place, has it taken place on 14th or was it on the 13th night itself? Maybe through these drugs that were being administered to Sushant, and therefore the neighbor has come out and said that 10:30 the lights were switched off. Was these drugs given to Sushant and then certain amount of things were done by this co-opted lobby which was in the flat at that time? And these are questions the Mumbai police conveniently never went into, and now we know why, because there is a very sinister angle that is coming out.
Tehseen Poonawalla, I want to ask you, you've said Scotland Yard can't be better than Mumbai police. I want to ask you, these WhatsApp chats that have been recovered by the Enforcement Directorate, why did the Mumbai police not look at this? Why? Can you ever deny this proof that is out there in black and white? Can you ever say, kuch tha hi nahi, it was a suicide, you guys are making such a big deal about it? Tehseen Poonawalla, tonight I want to ask you, can you ever look me in the eye and say that now there wasn't a conspiracy that was going on around him?
I can very well look you in the eye, ma'am, and say that it is amazing how whatever agencies that Mr. Prime Minister Modi wants miraculously gets things that are so perfectly put in black and white. For example, the note to kill the Prime Minister was in black and white, but it's never proved in any court of law. So if these chats are genuine, which I have no doubt Times Now, they've leaked the right things to Times Now, well, they should prove it in a court of law. Second question to ED, instead ED gives it to CBI, kindly prove the case. Why are they leaking these things out and weakening the case? They're weakening the case.
You know, Tehseen Poonawalla, leaking things out, you make it sound as if a journalist has no role to play in all of this. You know, it's all sitting there, you know, in an office, sitting there on a table for somebody to come up and pick the file. You know, this is the most, you know, shameful explanation that anybody can give, Shehzad Poonawalla.
Navika, just one line. Navika, today the suicide theory lobby has been completely demolished. The team Rhea lobby has been completely demolished. And this is not leaking. This is investigative journalism by Navika Kumar for the last 30 years that has paid off. She has retrieved what Mumbai police couldn't do. Your damn Mumbai police for 71 days could not register an FIR, could not arrest a single person, could not interrogate Pithani and the likes of that entire group, Miranda and others. They could not find the financial angle that Bihar police could take out on Rhea. And today if Navika Kumar and Times Now does a journalism that has actually reflected in the Supreme Court by handing over the matter to the CBI, I think Tehseen Poonawalla, you should have the first of all the humility to thank Navika Kumar and Times Now for bringing out such an important piece of information. Rather you kill the messenger, just like you perhaps wanted to kill the story of Sushant Singh Rajput by calling him bipolar.
Care to respond to that, Tehseen?
May I respond? Yeah. Metaphorically speaking, the proof of the pudding and the proof of the weed is in the smoke. So kindly prove the matter in court. That's it.
I want to ask you, Dr. Sumant Siraman, is that all? Is that all in terms of an explanation? Where is the suicide theory tonight? I want to ask you, Dr. Sumant Siraman, where is the suicide theory? Where is the entire lobby that was saying, well, Rhea is just being crucified without anything? What about these chats which give you a trail of evidence?
I'm not able to hear you.
Obviously, when the questions are tough, then there is a problem. But we'll correct that audio line. Let me go across to my colleague Pranesh, who's standing by. And Pranesh, I want to know from you, what exactly were the warnings that already existed? You know, this whole theory about the fact that Sushant was being drugged or given some medicines which led to this, and this whole mental trauma, mental depression angle that came in, these were things that people say weren't existent before Rhea came into his life and began after that. Today, this evidence is there. Can we corroborate this with testimonies that have come out before, Pranesh?
There have been at least 4 testimonies, and if I'm not wrong with the number, it's actually 5, and I'll pull them out here. And before that, Navika, what we brought out today, it can't get bigger than this. And for Tehseen to trivialize it by saying that you have to prove this in court, I think is a little reckless, if I can use the term. Look at the warnings that the Mumbai police ignored. February, SOS. Sushant's brother-in-law sent message to the Mumbai top cop. This is the screenshot of the message which was sent. There was another message sent to the Mumbai police. On pretext of curing depression, SSR taken to resorts. Another red flag that the Mumbai police failed to respond to. Sushant's father warned Mumbai police in February 2020, and the brother-in-law sent that message. Sushant was in bad company. His life is in danger. Let me read this again. Sushant is in bad company, his life is in danger. Then you had the trainer, the personal trainer of Sushant Singh Rajput, who came out and said, Navika, 2 times now, Sushant's gym trainer revealed he took medication, something that he would not take earlier, but something changed in his life after Rhea Chakraborty came. And he said pills made Sushant anxious and that his hands and legs used to shake. There's another testimony that the Mumbai police should have taken note, but they ignored it. Siddharth Pitani said that Sushant Singh Rajput's health was taking a back seat. He said that his health was deteriorating. And then the Mumbai police, despite all these things, did nothing. SSR started crying and shivering when I spoke to him, and he said this on your show, the Newshour, yet the Mumbai police did not act.
Absolutely, and this is in black and white. We have these testimonies with us. Now, I simply want to ask Priyank, what's the CBI going to do about this revelation that Times Now has unearthed, this drugs angle, this narcotics angle, and the fact that Jaya Saha was advising Rhea Chakraborty on how to administer these drugs to Sushant Singh Rajput?
Certainly, Navika, let me congratulate you first, but on the other side, the CBI is yet to summon these individuals. What we know that today there was a meeting which happened in between ED officials as well as the CBI, where there has been sharing of documents and some electronic evidence which was gathered in the past has also been discussed in between these 2 teams. So what we can understand that the CBI will also come into this particular biggest revelation which has been made on Times Now, because today the document has been shared in between ED and CBI.
Siddhant, why was the Mumbai police not looking at this angle at all? Were they in a hurry to close the case? Without politicians and a police nexus, can such drug dealing go on in a place like Bandra, where all of this was being delivered? And this brings to light several people, Rhea Chakraborty, Showik Chakraborty, who has another friend who's supplying to him. There is a person called Gaurav who's supplying this to Rhea. There is Jaya Saha of Kwon. There is Shruti Modi, because Jaya Saha says the person who comes to deliver will coordinate with Shruti Modi, so she also knew about it. Samuel Miranda, who actually keeps tab of how much supplies are there in the house and informs Rhea when it gets over. You know, all of this now becomes clear as a huge ring operating around Sushant Singh Rajput.
Well, this seems to be a cartel which was going on, which was operating from Bandra. And Navika, this is a completely new angle which Mumbai police never looked into. You see, Navika, Mumbai police has a narcotics wing. This angle could have been shared with them, but that did not happen. First, second, the most important thing, Navika, is that these are not just a cartel supplying drugs, but this particular angle is a part of a whole conspiracy that we have been tracking from day first. That how a particular drug is being provided, that drug is added in a beverage, and a person is waiting so that it starts. That person takes it in. So all these things, Navika, this drug ring is a part of the entire conspiracy, and Mumbai police did not pay attention to these. Now these chats which you have managed to access, will has brought new angles to this entire investigation, and now Narcotics Control Bureau is going to look into this entire cartel, the cartel which was operating in Bandra. And you see, Navika, this is not the first time. Before this also, we have come across several stories and investigation where the drugs are quite common in Bollywood parties.
But drugs being used to induce depression, that is something the family was fearing. Have the worst fears of Sushant Singh Rajput's family come true tonight? I don't know if they're watching this broadcast. I don't know whether they will feel vindicated or their heart will sink further, simply because they suspected it. Sushant told them about it. Yet there was a lobby that was telling us that there is a depression and an angle of him not getting movies, him not doing well in Bollywood, and that's why he was depressed. Pranesh, I want to come back to you. What happens to the depression theory and the suicide lobby tonight after this expose, this evidence, this hard fact that we've put out on our screen for our viewers?
I think the depression lobby will have to resort to drugs because they are completely red-faced tonight. And I was just curious about MDMA. After the news break, I was reading up on it. And Navita, look what a Google search. I have typed MDMA and look what this has thrown up. This is MDMA and this is some website, drugabuse.gov. And look at this. When taken by mouth, effects begin in 30 to 45 minutes and last 3 to 6 hours. Now I am saying this because if you go back to the message by Jaya Saha to Rhea Chakraborty, the 25 November message, she says use 4 drops in coffee, tea or water, let him sip, give it 30-40 minutes for it to kick it in. Now we don't know whether it was MDMA or something else she was referring to, but look at this. When taken by mouth, effects begin in 30 to 45 minutes and last 3 to 6 hours.
Well, that's important, and these are in the form of capsules, can be dissolved in tea, coffee, whatever. I don't know which drugs. I'm not very well versed in all of this. Really familiar with these names. But the fact is, drugs were being used, and let me now get in Sushant. Let me now get in Dr. Suman Siraman. Dr. Suman Siraman, why did the Mumbai police brush aside this angle? Why the Enforcement Directorate can get out deleted chats which were important in this case because these were the fears of the family, but the Mumbai police had no time to either question or get into these details, and day one they concluded this was a suicide? I want to ask you, where does the suicide story stand tonight? Where is the depression angle? Where does that go tonight?
Latest installment in the slander and character assassination that's going on for weeks now on national television.
What is character assassination in this?
Yeah, absolutely. This has got to do with the autopsy report. The autopsy, you say, was delayed to hide drugs For God's sake, go and read up forensic medicine. Who has told you that you cannot detect drugs after death if it is 12 hours? I mean, where are you getting all this information from? Please ask those people to come, give their names and show their faces and speak, instead of attributing it to anonymous sources. Forensic experts have told us, blah, blah, blah. Ask these people to come, sit on TV and participate in the debates and let them say it, and let's see what their colleagues think of them if they say this. Tongue was not protruding, therefore it cannot be suicide. I mean, who is the forensic man who says this? Ask him to come and speak on television. Let's see what his reputation is after that. This is a joke.
Shehzad, clearly evidence is not enough. This is being called slander by Dr. Sumansi Raman, and he's not talking about the 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and 30 minutes for it to kick in, but he's talking about some forensics where it didn't show up. Shehzad.
People who are giving such opinions. Let the country know who...
Navika, the reason why... One second, Sumansi Raman, don't outshot me. You believe the suicide theory very easily, but here when there's hard evidence, you refuse to believe it. I'm going to speak over you because you cannot drown out the voice of millions of those people, along with Navika, who are trying to crusade for justice. Navika, after Pranesh did a basic Google search, I've gone onto the website. Navika, I'm going to continue speaking till the Times now reduces this man's fader. He's a doctor of spin, and spin doctoring is what Mr. Sumansi Raman masters his art at, but I'm going to keep speaking because this is important information that I want to share with your viewers. Navika, the effects of MDMA. Navika, I'm going to continue speaking till the Times now shuts this man off. Navika, I'm trying to bring in information.
Well, you made your point. You don't believe in any evidence that comes up. You don't believe in the, you continue to believe in your suicide theory. You don't believe the theory that there was foul play. You don't believe the theory that there are agencies which have got this digital footprint, but you believe the Mumbai police. Can I help you? No, I can't. I'm not a doctor. You need to go see a real doctor because you seem to have a problem of mindset, and now I can't tackle that mindset problem. Let's listen into the other point of view, and I'm getting in Shehzad Poonawalla, who has information to give. Yes.
Yeah, Navika, I just want to share this information. One of the side effects of taking MDMA, within 30 minutes it kicks in, it lasts for 3 to 6 hours, is hallucinations. It is increased heartbeats. It is teeth clenching with each other. These are the symptoms that were described constantly by Pithani and others and were sold to us as the suicide lobby theory, that this is his symptoms of not being mentally stable. These are the same symptoms of MDMA. Now my question is, was MDMA administered to him little by little against his knowledge, and was he killed by this? This is the big question, and these are the links. He didn't know he was being
Ravi Srivastava, where is the depression theory tonight? If somebody is administered these drugs without his knowledge, what happens to the suicide theory, the depression theory?
Forget theory, but the theory remains there. Theory remains there. Theory is not out. Nobody has declared it was a murder. Has CBI said it is a murder? Has CBI given any statement?
CBI कहेगी तो आप मान लेंगे क्या? सीबीआई कहेगी तो आप मान लेंगे क्या? ये व्हाट्सएप चैट में 2017 से रिया के ड्रग सप्लायर्स हैं, गौरव नाम का आदमी है जो उनके साथ टेक्स्ट पे है. गौरव उनका नाम है या कोई और नाम है, we don't know, but we try to. Ravi Srivastava, hang on, we try to contact Gaurav. Let's just play out. My newsroom is trying to contact Gaurav on the numbers that are available on this WhatsApp chat. Well, I don't want your theory, Ravi Srivastava, till you hear what Gaurav has to say on this. Gaurav, contacted by our reporters.
Hello?
Yes?
Gaurav?
Who's this?
Hi, basically, did you know Rhea Chakraborty? This was regarding a chat that ED is looking into with respect to some mention of drugs.
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
Because Enforcement Directorate is looking into a chat between you and Rhea Chakraborty. This is in relation to mention of drugs and drug dealing.
Oh, I'm not aware what you're talking about.
Oh, so you deny these allegations? You deny these chats?
Gaurav Arya says, I have no idea. Gaurav Bhatia, I'm sorry. It's a coincidence, but Gaurav Bhatia, I want to ask you, isn't this something that the Mumbai police should have looked at? Because so many people have come in with so many versions and now 4 warnings. Well, it was the brother-in-law in February who sent this message that he seems to be surrounded with bad company, his life is at risk. The Mumbai police doesn't look at it. Then there is the trainer who says his hands began to tremble by about December. Sushant started calling his family in January that I don't keep well, I don't feel very well. Gaurav Bhatia, the warning signals were all there. What was the Mumbai police really doing? Not looking at any of these warning signs, and in fact, even after his death, trying to bury every single detail that today is coming out, because the truth can't be hidden for very long.
Navika, thank you for remembering me. For a moment, I thought just because my name is also Gaurav, linked to the alleged drug dealer Gaurav, you've forgotten me completely. But let me say this, that people who are talking about media indulging in slandering and are getting Narendra Modi ji for the quick action of the investigating agencies. As a lawyer, what is the most important point that has not been discussed so far? The most important point is that apart from the other crimes that are being investigated, NDPS Act, Narcotic Drug Psychotropic Substance Act itself, talks about possession of drugs, administration of drugs, sale, purchase, storage of drugs, a crime in itself. And how serious the crime is, let me tell you. It is cognizable, non-bailable, and can also be punished with an imprisonment of 20 years. So my question is, this is not a suicide, is very clear from all the facts that have been gone out. But what was the Mumbai police doing for the last 65 days, 66 days? They could not even arrest these people. It's a cognizable offense. They should have arrested. And one very important point was Sushant administered this drug. Because what are the effects? 2 effects have not been mentioned. One is severe depression. Sushant Singh Rajput was being administered this drug, so he gets into depression. Second, anxiety pang. So it makes it even more serious that here is an individual who has his own right, doesn't want to take drugs, but he is being administered drugs by the so-called well-wishers who are criminals in the eyes of law. And I would also say, add this to the fact, Rahul Shivshankar raised a very important point, that the autopsy itself has been conducted in a dubious manner. Questions have been raised by the chief forensic expert of AIMS. Why was the autopsy done in such a way? Was it delayed so that this psychotropic substance, if administered on the fatal night, is washed out of the body? And then no time was mentioned. This clearly shows one thing, Navika. This is not a suicide case. And I'm sorry to say...
But there are many people who cling to the suicide theory, who cling to the depression angle. They will not see any fact, and they will not believe what facts and hard facts in black and white show you. And it's on the screen. 4 drops in tea or coffee or water. Wait for 30 to 40 minutes for it to kick in. Jaya Saha to Rhea Chakraborty when she asks for these drugs. Was Sushant in the habit of using these kind of drugs? If he was, why was he not getting them himself? Why was Rhea questioning and getting them for him? Why was she sourcing it from Showik's friends or other suppliers, which she had been doing since 2017? Many questions coming up. When we come back after this very short break, we'll ask Smita Parekh and Tanvi Pruthi and Shreya Narayan on what this means in this big death mystery. Rhea Drugs Chat, that's the big story we are bringing to you on Times Now. Short break, back soon. Don't move from your seats because more details coming up on the other side. Well, let me go across to Smita Parekh, Sushant Singh Rajput's friend. Smita Parekh, what do you make of these disclosures? These are not speculations anymore. These are hard facts. These are messages that were deleted. Why would Rhea delete them if there was nothing to hide? If it was normal and people normally do drugs in Bollywood, what was there to delete these chats?
First of all, Navika, I want to congratulate you for bringing these kind of chats in front of the public. And everyone, who's also opposing, the murder theory and a lot of other theories which we have been screaming on top of our voices. After you showed these chats today, Navika, the debate gets over.
The debate is over, says Smita Parekh. Smita, just stay with me. Sushant Singh Rajput's family lawyer, Mr. Vikas Singh, senior counsel, is joining me. Good evening, Mr. Vikas Singh. We put out facts, and these facts are WhatsApp chats. We were talking about drugs. The Enforcement Directorate has handed over some files. We've been able to really extract 8 chats out of these. These are chats from 2017, 2019 and 20. And in one chat, Jaya Saha is telling Rhea on giving 4 drops in coffee, tea or water and wait for it to kick in the 30 to 40 minutes. Where does this disclosure really take the investigation in the death mystery of Sushant Singh Rajput?
Navika, I must tell you one thing, that in our FIR, we have mentioned that he used to be over-drugged. Now, we were under the impression that this was some drug being administered by a doctor, a psychiatrist. But now your revelation is absolutely explosive. So probably he was being drugged, literally drugged. And drug means these hardcore drugs, which are given to somebody to, sort of control his mind. And it is quite obvious that what was done to Sushant was definitely, firstly, highly illegal and highly criminal. And he was being, these drugs were being used to somehow, sort of either control him or to calm him down or to, sort of make him docile. And that is what the servants also say, that he used to be sleeping in the ground floor, in the lower, because he had a duplex. So 6th floor and 7th floor. So he used to be sleeping on one floor and there were partying going on in the other floor. And Rhea used to be having a party and Sushant used to be sleeping in the other floor. So there was definitely an element of actual drugging, not drugging in the sense that we had said in the FIR, but actual drugging means that he was administered something contrary to his will, without his knowledge, and the purpose of that drugging was to subdue him or to, sort of make him docile or to make him, sort of to affect his mind very badly. And that is ultimately what led to his death, Navika. So I think this is a very, very important revelation. And this gives us slightly different direction to the whole thing. Of course, it is in consonance with what we have said in the FIR. But it gives us definitely...
Mr. Vikas Singh, I want to ask you, the family said that in January they received a call from Sushant Singh Rajput who said he wasn't feeling so well, he wanted to get away and he did go in January to Panchkula to be with his sister Rani Didi, and at that time, would you have any information on whether he was craving for drugs or using drugs? Did the family have any information that he used drugs in the time that he spent with them?
Well, definitely he was very restless. So that restlessness was definitely noticed. But the point of being administered these kind of drugs, this actually shows that all this while, when this Sushant, whenever he used to feel restless and he used to call the family, this restlessness was because of these drugs.
The dependence on the drug, the cutting short of a brilliant mind, is that how you're looking at it, Vikas Singh?
Navika, one more thing. If supposing if somebody is going to a doctor and being shown because of some medical issue, some mental issue, and if there are some drugs being administered under that, then that definitely Rhea will share with the family. What is the reason to hide? So the fact that she hid from the family what treatment was being done and what drugs were being administered to him was clearly because what was being done was completely illegal and criminal to him, whatever was done. So obviously they didn't want, and that is why this secrecy, that is why when the father is sending an SMS in November that what is happening to my son, please tell me, I have a right to know, I want to come. sisters are being, slowly being separated. December they changed the telephone number. Till January nobody knows the new number. January when Sushant rings to his sister Rani on that new number, she finds the unknown number calling. Fortunately, she picked it up. So I mean, just see the systematic way in which.
So you're saying this was planned out?
Absolutely. This is planned to the planned to the D and planned to the P. I mean, it starts with the P and ends with the D. So everything was planned in this whole case.
Important revelations coming in from Mr. Vikas Singh. Thank you, Mr. Vikas Singh. We'll be following this story, and we would request you to keep an eye on anything that you may have in terms of evidence which can give us more leads into circumstantial connections to the facts that we put out on the Newshour tonight. Thank you, Mr. Vikas Singh. Once again, I'm sorry I'm running short of time, but Shreya Narayan, Smita Parekh and Tanvi Pruthi, I want to get you in, and I just want to ask you, does this really look like a murder anymore? Or as Vikas Singh says, this was drugging Sushant Singh Rajput against his wishes and therefore a criminal act?
Navika, first of all, congratulations for this clinching evidence which is admissible in court despite what Mr. Swaminathan says. 4 things: healers, spiritual resorts, drugs, psychiatric drugs. Now, if you take narcotic drugs along with psychiatric drugs, what
a cocktail! What a cocktail that would be!
It is to destroy a person's mind and make him believe that he is suffering from depression. This was done to make Sushant.
Well, the family lawyer Vikas Singh says it was all planned out to the last T. Well, we are putting the facts out. The conclusions are for the investigating agencies to make at this moment. We continue to lead the investigations in the Sushant Singh case, and more we dig into it, the more it doesn't look like a suicide. A deliberate snuffing of a very brilliant and bright mind through drugs. Was this happening against Sushant Singh Rajput's will? Was this deliberately being done? Can Rhea Chakraborty come out with the truth? Will the Mumbai police look at it? And who are the powerful people who were trying to suppress this truth? Is the question we will ask time and time again. Why did the Mumbai police suppress this truth? I'll hand you over to Padmaja on the other side. The news are at 10 coming up, following this big story, this big news break, and the facts that we put out. Good night from me.